Okay, so it's afternoon. We've had we had a sort of a whole day. I finished up putting the first coat of Reflex on last night, and so I'm gonna just sort of give it a real gentle, dry wipe down, so I can start doing the second coat of Reflex on the paint. But I put it on last night, so we've had a good. And how many hours have we had? 15 hours or so for the first coat to cure. I'm gonna apply the second coat here, and because I'm out in this sort of barn thing, the car is, it's not covered completely, and so this is one of the difficulties of not having a garage. Is that little dust particles and bugs and all kinds of crap are just sort of sit on here, where if I had an enclosed garage, then obviously this wouldn't be an issue. I'm gonna tell you what, guys, the paint looks so good, and the Reflex looks very wax-like, which you guys know has always been my rub with coatings, is they doesn't look like paint. It looks like some weird synthetic surface. Something that really, really cracked me up was there was a comment on YouTube, and I'm over my little tirade, so I'm good. I'm back to center. So anyway, I thought this was great. Some guy's like, man, I wanna let you know that they're really talking. The Mustang owners are aware of you, and they're really talking, and it's not good. So anyway, bro, I appreciate you looking out for me, but I guess people are hating on the fact that we like to clean our car and have it dialed before I go sort of driving around and do all the crazy stuff I'm going to do with this thing. Okay, you can get some gloves. So I'm going to work on getting a few different angles for you guys, since I already did one coat. We're going to do this second coat here, so I'll do my best to move the camera around and get you some different views. But I've got I think this is a new pad. I got a new pad, and it's my same bottle of Reflex. Again, this stuff doesn't dry and leave like little glass particles like others, so like Todd Cooperrider, I've seen other videos of guys that professionals that would suggest that you blow this out, but the Reflex doesn't have that same issue. At least I haven't experienced it. So I'm going to prime my new pad, and then I'm going to do my normal application. Again, using my pattern, where I like to go sort of vertically and then come back horizontally. It takes a few passes to get the pad really so that it's smoothly gliding on the surface. But the application of Reflex is on a whole nother level in comparison to some other, more, other different types of coatings. It goes on so easily. I don't have to worry about leveling and it hardening incorrectly. It goes on very much like any traditional sealant or wax, and then wipes right off when it's time to remove it. I don't know if you guys, if you've never done like a C-quartz application, C-quartz I think is in my opinion is very different than this. This is not going to last as long, and frankly I don't care, because I'm going to take really, really good care of this thing. The C-quartz is going on both my truck, which has by default sort of gotten neglected here since the GT350 showed up. The truck needs a detail as well. I mean, I haven't detailed it since I got it. But my buddy Charles had something on the paint. I just don't know what it was. He doesn't know what it was. So he had somebody do it. So, you know, I'm generally putting, you know, a few drops on the pad, you know, 2-3 drops here and there. I don't really have a specific formula for you other than just, you know, if the pad stops gliding, then chances are, especially on this second coat, chances are then you need to add a little bit more. I think it's really interesting how in the old days of coatings, so, you know, 8 months ago or 2 years ago, all the talk was you put a coat, you know, you do the coating. And now it seems that I see all these people, I saw someone talking about putting 5 coats of C-Cords on the car. I'm like, gee whiz, I mean, there's got to be a point to where it starts to get kind of funky looking. And my guess would be anything after 1, maybe 2 coats would start to look a little odd. This stuff, again, is much more wax-like. I feel a little bit more comfortable putting a few extra coats on. And well, you know, when I'm applying this stuff, I tend to choose panel by panel so that I'm not, or section by section, so I'm not forgetting areas. So notice I didn't hit the front. I'm going to come back and do that all in one piece, or all in one section. So right now I'm just sort of breaking up the hood into different sections, keeping myself organized. But you can see in the camera, you can see sort of the haziness of the coating, and it'll dry a little bit hazier, and then that means that I'm ready to remove it. We need to get some more of the Adams hex pads for application. So I get a lot of comments about, you know, not wearing gloves and dealing with chemicals, and I sort of make a determination on what I think, you know, where I think it's more important to use gloves and when it's not. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reflex this just because I'm hitting it a lot with the pad anyway, and because, you know, this stuff is a different sort of type of coating, you know, a flexible coating as Larry calls it. You can put it on trim. I'm not going to put it on the lower trim though. Because I'm going to do woofs on that. So as I was talking about, you know, chemicals in my hands, and you know, I get what you guys are saying, and I probably should wear gloves more often. But I sort of make determinations. Like when I'm polishing, I don't feel the need to wear gloves. When I'm washing, you know, with car soap, I don't feel the need. You know, when I'm using something like this coating, I don't want to get this in my skin, or on my skin and in my skin. So that's just, there's no real scientific proof behind it, but it's just the choice that I've made. You know, it will be interesting to see how the Mustang community embraces Obsessed Garage. I suspect it's probably not going to be a very good match. That's okay. In that same comment where the kid was talking about how, you know, on the forums, That, you know, again, my videos of me detailing this thing have shown up, and you know, the response hasn't been so great. And he said, he was giving me some advice on driving a manual. He said, look, you know, if you're new to driving a manual, you know, you take your time and learn it, and be careful with putting your foot down. And I said, oh shoot, man. I hope I'm not giving off that vibe that I don't know how to drive a manual transmission. Been driving one for just a couple of years. It's been what, probably 25 years of driving manual transmission, something like that. So, you know, since I was, you know, in my early teens, maybe 20 years. Let's be a little fairer. Since my early teens. My first two cars weren't a manual. My Chevy Beretta, oh gosh, that thing. And then my first car, my Pontiac Sunfire GT. I think it was I don't know if it was a single turbo. I think it was a twin turbo, little 2-liter 4-cylinder. I'm starting to think 2 coats is plenty. Because I'm going to put skin on top of this anyway. Yeah, I think I pretty much made that determination. The 2 coats is just fine. The smell of this it's very, almost smells like a high-end shampoo. Whatever a high-end shampoo, like a Paul Mitchell or something. I don't know if that's a high-end shampoo or not, but Michelle tells me sometimes. So it smells like the fancy stuff that Michelle gets usually when she gets her hair done. And then she'll come home with some fancy shampoo that they sold her. It smells like that. I might as well just keep you guys on camera. It's not every day that, at least I haven't seen very many Reflex videos outside of Larry's. If you haven't watched all the videos and you're looking at the windows, I mean, the windows are really, you know, they're all slopped with polish and bug stuff, and so the windows aren't clean. I'm going to clean those here shortly, you know, before I coat them. So there's no reason to keep cleaning them over and over again in between. It's okay that they stay dirty now, and then I'll come back and clean them right before putting Wolf's glass guard on it. It still appears that you can get Wolf's, let me just do the mirror real fast here. It still appears that you can get Wolf's on Amazon. I think some of you guys have been able to pick it up. I've got a new radar detector to test out in this car. It's called a Rodenso, which I think existed or has existed for a while, but there's a couple of dudes who are Obsessed Garage fans that have bought the company and have improved the technology. The thing is butt ugly, but I think the guts are fantastic. And one of the things I didn't realize is that, you know, Escort, I've always been a fan of course we have Valentine 1. I just feel like Valentine 1 I've had 2 or 3 of them over the years, and it's good, certainly good. But the false alarms that you get from it all the time, even with some of the tuning that you can do to help with it, and then get the savvy that you plug into the OBD2 port to sort of monitor your speed. I just find that the false alarms just make it sort of not very useful to me. And eventually end up ignoring the thing. And so when Rodenso called me to see if maybe I would test it, which by the way, it's just absolutely insane that I'm getting, calls from these companies to be like a representative of their brand or to test their product. I mean, that's been my dream since I was a kid. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that, and as a kid to be able to get all this great stuff that I dreamed of buying someday, and now companies are sending it to me to test and then tell you about it. It's humbling. It's a big responsibility, but it's really, really great to be looked at as a guy that companies would trust, or people. Really, it doesn't even have to do anything with companies. It has to do with people. People trust me with their livelihood, you know, with their product, and trust me to test it and try it and make sure that it's, you know, vetted and really does work as advertised. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but it's satisfying to me anyway. So I'm not getting the trim, but I am hitting some of these areas, like around the mirror, that will be really hard to miss. So the mirror trim I'm doing with the Reflex. And so I'm going to be testing a new radar detector, and all that was happening when the guys at Blend Mount called and asked me to take a few pictures of my GT3. They'd found it, you know, a long time ago from my GT3 journal. And so now Blend Mount's sending me all the stuff that I need. So I'm going to have a detector in, you know, all 3 cars. So they're sending me that. You know, again, I've always bought all this stuff and used it and liked it. We're about done with this bottle. We still got quite a bit left. So I'll be able to finish this car. So that means I did Tim's car and this car with 1 bottle. And not only did I do this car, I did 2 coats on this car. So 1 coat, so 3 solid coats in 1 bottle on sort of medium-sized cars. So Blend Mount's sending me the mounts, and I'm going to test the Redenso in this car. I'll put my Passport Maxes in the other, and then if I like the Redenso, then I'll swap those out. Like I said, the Redenso option is butt ugly, but you know, it's black. It just doesn't look like anything super fancy or impressive. But I've been told that the guts, you know, how it operates is what it's all about. Okay, so I'm going to go around, finish up the rest of the car. I kind of want to listen to my podcast where, you know, Brian releases the podcast, and I get to sort of hear some of the crazy ramblings that I generally do. And so I'm going to listen to that, and then I'll come back to you as sort of we work on some of the next steps. All right, so let's get the Reflex off the car. I am only going to do 2 coats. This looks really good. I'm going to put skin on top of this and then cream on top of that. Of course, skin is a sealant. Cream is a wax. Carnauba-based wax, I think. So I probably let this sit, I don't know, 25 minutes total, 30 minutes total, tops. And it comes right off. So all the little streaks and smears from it setting up are wiping right off with ease. That's what's so great about this coating, other than it looking like wax. So you don't have to wipe aggressively, just wipe like normal, and any little bit of extra wipes right off. So what I'm going to do after I'm done wiping this, I'm going to let this cure, and then I'm going to go, freaking mosquitoes, man, get out of here. I'm going to go to the gym. I don't know if I'll come back today, but I'll come back soon, early in the morning, and put some skin on it. So I'm going to keep wiping this down, and that's how you apply Ammo Reflex, which is his flexible coating. So I'm going to stop it here, and I'll come and do a trim video separately, and we'll have some extra videos of doing skin and cream and some of the other things as I'm finishing up the project. But I have 2 layers of Reflex on the car. The first layer I set up a day and a half ago, roughly. Actually, I take that back. About 24 hours ago from now, let that sit and cure overnight. and then put a second coat on about 4 or 5 hours ago. I'm not going to let it sit up any longer. I want to get this coat of skin on the car. And so, you know, Larry's philosophy, Ammo NYC's philosophy, if you're not familiar, is layers. And I've always sort of adhered to that as well, that you put layer after layer after layer of the car on the paint, and that just means that you have, you know, less chance of sort of blowing through all those layers and having nothing left, that you always have something on the paint protecting the car. And so skin is a polymer base, so it's a synthetic sealant. So really what we're doing is we're going coating and then sealant, and then I'm going to do a wax for the depth and clarity. So I'm really interested to see how this combination works. I haven't done all of these before. I did Reflex and I did skin on Tim's, my buddy Tim's Silverstone 2 M3, the competition package F80 M3. I haven't done it on any of the cars. I actually put skin and cream on the GT3. It's what's on it now, but I really didn't correct the GT3. I don't know that it really needs corrected, but I wanted to jewel it out and sort of really get it cleaned up. But theoretically, I'm going to keep this thing covered in skin and cream. So what I'll probably do is do a layer of cream, which is the Carnauba-based wax. I'll probably do that once a month, and which I've never really done that. I've never topped my paint with the sealant in between maintenance corrections. So just like all products, you know, shake it up. I mean, it's a chemical, so it needs to be shaken. And I'm using just a regular old applicator. I always prefer, and have always preferred, part of it is my connection with the car and the paint, but I've always preferred to do my last step, or my sealant or wax, or whatever, my last step product, LSP. Always preferred to do this by hand, not by machine. I feel like, you know, by machine you increase the odds of you know, scratching this perfected paint. And man, this stuff looks so good, guys, I'm telling you. I put a short little video up on Instagram. It looks a lot lighter in the video on Instagram than it does in person. It's a lot darker, but the depth is awesome, even with the Reflex. So I'll prime the pad with some skin, and then I like to put skin on in circles. This stuff smells great. It smells real mannish. It smells like a cologne of some sort. So I'm a little thick here now. You don't want to apply this much. It's just going to make it harder to get it off. And I'll do the same procedure here that I do with the Reflex, if you watch that video, where I'm going to do basically the entire car, and by the time I'm done with the entire car, I can come back around and wipe it off. I think I'm only going to do one coat of this. In fact, I know I am. The more product, the more work to get it off. Although I found that skin comes off pretty easily. Not as easily as Power Lock, but still easy enough. Honestly though, this Mustang or not, this is probably my finest work. And I think that's the real sort of cool thing about this sort of detailing hobby, if you will, although I don't like calling things hobbies, or detailing obsession. For a guy that's not a detailer, you know, is I continue to progress, continue to get better. Not by accident, by lots of trial, error, reading, learning, willingness to try different things, almost over willingness to try different things, like using too many different types of polishes and things like that. And just like Reflex, I'm going to put it right over the headlights and taillights. See, I'm kind of cool. I'm cool with that kind of badge. Clean, neat, looks good. So I don't hate the GT350 badges that are stuck on the car. It's not a big deal. I'm going to go around through the rest of the car just like we saw. I'm going to let it haze over, and then I'll come back to you and we'll remove it. I've had skin on the car. I can usually tell when it's time to take it off. I'm going to let it sit a little bit longer. It hasn't quite set up yet. It doesn't really get super hard or set. But I just finished the car. It took me 20 minutes to do the whole thing. So I'm going to come back around. Yeah, it wipes right off the trim. Good. Okay, I'm going to remove the skin. Just like we remove the Reflex, or just like you remove any wax, only it comes off even easier. Now don't freak out, most waxes or sealants, before the first wash, you'll be able to sort of see it. They'll sometimes sweat and come, sort of to the surface. And shoot. Nothing worse than a nail on the microfiber. And then after that sort of first wash, crap, I'm supposed to be working on my sort ofs. After that first wash, you won't see it anymore. Like I said, doesn't come off quite as easily as power lock, but we get pretty darn good results from a depth and shine perspective. I'll have more comments because I just put it on the GT3. I've only washed it once. I can't tell you how excited I am to get this done and over with. Despite the fact that I love detailing, my gosh, sometimes it's like, all right, I just want to be done. Wow. Dang it, that looks good. I'll probably use maybe 2 towels to wipe this off. Just kind of flipping it periodically. I'm telling you guys, remember, I'm borderline BMW fanboy with a little bit of extra self-awareness. And this thing, from an exterior perspective, the paint is good. I did find one other little imperfection. There's the one little tiny bubble. But if you weren't insane like me, you'd probably never even see it. So what we'll do after I remove this, so tomorrow morning I'll get up, so I'll let this cure overnight. Tomorrow morning I'll get up, throw a coat of cream on the paint. While that's happening, I'll start working on the interior and the windows, because tonight I'm going to go in and edit this video. And then I'm done. Then it's time to drive. Lots and lots of driving. The only problem is I'm going to SEMA next week. So most of the driving stuff is going to come the following, week after. So sorry if you're super amped to learn more about how this thing works. I'm amped to learn more about how this thing does, having only driven it here from the dealer, and that's it. So to wrap up our discussion on this next coat, this is ammo skin. You apply it like any wax or sealant. Let it sit for a few minutes, 20, 30 minutes. So I always go do something else and then wipe it off and step back and look at it. So man, this is a great combination, I'm telling you, just from the look of it. Now I don't have much experience with the durability and how it beads water and all that stuff, but just the look of this, shoot on these black mirrors, my gosh, it looks good. And so then we're going to throw a coat of wax on top of that. It's going to look incredible. But this was the skin step. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see if I'll sort of patch the videos together and see where this one fits. Because what happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor.